Well, hello again and welcome back to the final episode on our 1946 300 series Atlantic repair videos that I hope you've been able to enjoy and you found helpful. That certainly has been the goal. And hopefully your 300 is operating better than you ever would have imagined it could. That's the goal of these video series. Today's video is going to be what I would consider addendums. So some little bits and pieces that probably should have been included in the other videos and for one reason or another didn't make it. So without further delay, let's delve in today on Austin's American Flyer. I added the two freight cars and caboose to our engine, which were shown in the original brochure. Even though the brochure says a 301, they actually never made the 301 in 1946. They made a 300. So aside from that little discrepancy, this is what you see shown in the brochure. And now let's let our engine pull the load it was designed to carry. You know, I've just repaired something that didn't want to work and put it on the rails and watch it just burst into life and do what it was created to do. And that's pretty awesome. This was a bit of a surprise. It was awesome and then it wasn't. Sure how well you are able to see this in the video clips. But I noticed that this engine has a strange wobbling motion when it gets to the corners. It's also struggling quite a bit to pull this very light load. These axles have been freshly lubricated. These cars roll very smoothly. This is not at all a load for an engine with this kind of pulling power. And then to also have this little incident here at this curve makes me think there is something else going on here. So I want to look. Uh-oh. You see that? Mm-hmm. What you would do is you would send it back to Flyer or take it to one of their factory service specialists, and they would do something called pinning. I don't know how well we can see this here. Oh, pretty well. Do you see that on the middle drivers and that on the rear drivers? Those are actually small nails that have been drilled in through, whoa, focus, there we go. They've been drilled in through the outer rim. Sorry, don't know why that's happening. Outer rim in through the insulator. And this was done as a way to keep the outer rims from slipping on the inner hubs. just came back from the flyer layout, and just to be honest, what's going on, this is actually the second time I've done this. The first time I actually didn't catch any of this on film because, well, I didn't expect it. So again, let me just repeat what's going on here. There was a strange wobbling as the engine ran, very uncharacteristic. You know, these Atlantics, they may oscillate a little bit, but you don't see wobbling. Wobbling is a sign there's a problem somewhere. And when we had done our repair, I hadn't seen anything to indicate there was a problem with the drive wheels. When I ran the motor, as you saw in the video film, for the most part they were extremely true. I mean, just a tiny bit of wobble, but nothing to be concerned about. So I was shocked when, upon putting this little engine on the rails, taking it up a hill around a curve with a very small load on it, that it started to spin out. It just, again, uncharacteristic for an engine with a die-cast shell. You know, as you've seen on the videos, I run the 302, the sister of this one, all the time, and that engine has no problem pulling heavier cars and more of them up the same grade. So there was a problem. I brought the engine back over here to the roundhouse, and what I saw was that the insulators had shrunk enough that the outer hub had come loose, and you can see that here. And that had happened up here at the front, and as far as I could tell, there were two tires for sure that the inside was actually spinning independently of the outside. So right now, I don't know how well you can see me doing this, but I am spinning the outside the outside rim, while obviously the inside is not moving. And when that happens, you're getting no traction from this tire. And in the case of having a second one like that, you actually had two of the four tires that weren't providing any tractive effort, which is why the engine was struggling. And again, because they were loose inside here, it was also allowing the engine to oscillate, because I guess a way to think about it would be trying to walk on ice. You know, you slip and you slide, just carry on. Because the hubs were sliding around on these insulators, that's what's going on. Okay, time out. I'm talking about things and I haven't explained them. Forgive me. This is an introductory video, so let me do that. A Flyer steam engine wheel is constructed of three individual components. There's an inner section that has the casting, has a design in it, and later models this was plastic. The next part is this section, which is a plastic insulator, and it's pushed on around the inner part. And then last but not least is this outer rim. Now, this changed when you got into later variations of the steam engine. Again, as Flyer looked for ways to reduce overhead, cheapen things up, this kind of process went away. In later versions, this was all plastic. So anyhow, but in our case here, what we're talking about is a three-part wheel. And for the most part, this three-part process seems to hold together very well. I've had only maybe one other engine that I'm aware of where the tread had come loose from the inside insulator. And bear in mind, I do not have beauty queens. My fleet is made up of engines that have been rescued. I was into the rescue scene long before it was popular. Not tooting a horn, but that was kind of in a sense purely economics, and the fact that I think there's a tremendous amount of value in taking things that basically people are throwing away because they're broken and trying to restore them. So, okay, Austin, stop going off about things. So the solution, according to Tom Barker and others, is there's different things you can do. Obviously, the pinning is an option. I don't trust myself. I do have some incredibly tiny drill bits, but I don't trust myself to accurately drill through this metal and not split it nor am I confident that I would have a pin that would stay in, so I'm not even going to go there. The two go-tos that I would consider would be number one, JB Weld, and number two would be Crazy Glue or Super Glue, one of those two. I think what I'm going to do is, since I was successful with the Super Glue up here, I'm going to try Super Glue again here. And the advantage of using Super Glue, if you're careful, is that you're able to do it without having to take everything apart. And JB Weld would mean taking everything apart, and if I was doing it correctly, it would actually mean pulling the entire wheel assembly off, re-affixing the insulator and that tread, using the epoxy, letting that cure, and then pushing everything back on, which you run the risk whenever you pull these tires off of actually breaking them. And so I just avoid that at all costs. So we're going to do the Super Glue, Crazy Glue, and see if we can't get a better seal this time. I did have some of the stuff that had a brush with it, and for reasons I don't fully understand, it dried up on me, and that might be one of the ways that these companies stay in business, is they make their containers have leaks in them so that they don't last forever. So what I'm doing here is I'm just putting the tiniest amount at a couple different places, and then I'm rotating the armature to give myself another location. Obviously we're on the clock because, as you know, this stuff can set up incredibly fast, but I wanted to do 4 different places here. I think the first time I did this, I might have just done one spot, which didn't give it much opportunity to hold. Come on. Okay, so there's our 4 different places. Now I'm going to push it on there, and I want to rotate this again. I'll make sure, and I'm not worried about getting super glue on the tread as much as I am the white wall, so I'm going to run a rag along there. The reason I'm not worried about getting it on the tread is a little bit of gentle scrubbing with Scotch-Brite or wet dry sandpaper will remove that. So that's not a problem. Obviously, getting on the white wall, as the white wall is plastic, is a totally different story altogether. And what I'm seeing here is, as I rotate the tire around, there are a couple places where the tread wasn't on quite the same way as it was other places. So learn from what I'm doing here. You wouldn't think it, but there's just enough play that you can have the tread actually be at different locations on the inner insulator, and if you let it dry that way, your tire really is going to wobble, and it's not going to be a good runner for you because of that issue. So, and again, you don't have much time, so you want to stay at it. Now, if I was thinking ahead, which this is the problem with doing stuff on camera, you're thinking about cameras and angles and sound and lighting, and sometimes you forget about some of the basics that you should be paying attention to. Okay, so I get the trailing truck out of the way, and now I can get to the armature, and you can see as we spin this, it does not appear that there are any changes in where the location of the hub is in relationship to the insulator. It looks to be the same all the way around. Okay, now the nice thing about this is we're just going to leave it, let it do its thing, and there's nothing else to do. So that was one of the things that I wanted to go over with all of you, and hopefully this will not be an issue, that once you put your engine back together, there will be no problems. It'll be smooth, it'll be flawless, and you think, wow, I am really good at this. I should do more repairs. because they go so well, and I just get it. When I mentioned in the video about repairing an E-unit or servicing an E-unit, how you can take some pliers and spread the E-unit apart so that the barrel or drum comes out, someone kindly suggested that I try something else. And what they should have said is, Austin, get your head examined. Here's why. Whenever you use pliers to bend metal, even if you're being incredibly gentle, you are taking that metal and you're moving it out of a pre-designed linear shape. And what they suggested is to use a spring remover, like a washer-style spring remover. And I have here a cheap version of that. And basically these are like a reverse pliers. You know, usually you grab onto pliers and it closes the end. These you grab onto them and they spread. Using something like this is a much better idea if you're going to try to remove a barrel from an E-unit, because what it does, and again, there's always exception to this, but typically what happens is it gently spreads the metal apart enough for the barrel to come out without deforming it, which will just really remove a lot of headaches later on when it comes to putting things back together. Here is our 1946 300 Atlantic with the tread reaffixed, reattached. And I've added a little bit more of a train to our engine to give it a bit of more of a workout. We're going to be running again up a 4% grade, and I think we'll put the transformer at about halfway, 50% or so, and see how well our engine does. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this series on the repair of a 1946 300 series Atlantic steam engine from American Flyer. Principles that we use to do this repair are applicable to just about every one of the post-war American Flyer steam engines that AC Gilbert manufactured. As always, I appreciate any comments, feedback you have. Until next time, enjoy your American Flyer trains. God bless. Take care. And look out for the cabooses that get left behind.